Am I the only one that doesn't give a rip about the Pro Bowl? I haven't watched it in years, and I ain't watching this year. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, welcome back to the Card Adventures podcast. My name's Curtis, and I'll be your guide on today's card adventure. You ready? Hey, let's go! Welcome back, everybody. It's good to see you. And I'm very grateful that you're tuning in today to this Card Adventures episode, part 2, with Josh Johnson, Cardboard Chronicles from Card Ladder. He's going to be joining us again to talk about a couple of other subjects that I think are very relevant to this time that we're in here in 2026. It's a bull market still. It's been a bull market for a little while. And I think it's important that we have discussions to dialogue how to get through this bull market together as collectors. And you know what? Every Tuesday, every Thursday, the Card Adventures podcast is here for you. Everywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can watch on YouTube, follow on Instagram at Card Adventures Podcast. Appreciate the love and support. And I really appreciate if you would tell a friend about the Card Adventures podcast. So as we get into today's episode, again, going to be talking about how to navigate through this bull market as a collector, because sometimes I feel like we freeze in a bull market. There's other times I feel like we overspend in a bull market. So what do we do? What do you do when you're maybe stuck in between? Do I just stop because these prices are too crazy? Or do I just pay these crazy prices? What do I do? Which way do I go? How do I navigate this for building my PC in this season of my life? So I wanted to have Josh talk about some of that stuff with us because he sees from a different perspective. He's in a aspect of the hobby where he is obviously involved with a lot of data, a lot of numbers, but he's also a true passionate collector who I'm sure has been picking up pieces through the bull market, right? We don't want to just stop collecting, but how do we navigate some of that stuff? When do you say yes to the high prices, even if you know it's a high price? Or when do you finally say, nah, you know what? I'm not going to participate in this, or I'm not going to pay that price, or whatever that looks like for you. I want to equip you today with some insight, some knowledge, some opinions, some experiences so that you can have a better card adventure. All right, everybody, we're back with Josh at Cardboard Chronicles to talk more about sports cards. That's what we're here for. On Tuesday, we talked about quality versus quantity. We talked about consolidation versus diversification. And today I want to touch on a couple of subjects with Josh about this bull market we've been in and how we can kind of collect through the bull market, how we can pick up pieces at these prices, or maybe when do we personally decide to say no? And most importantly, how do we have fun through it all? How do we continue to have a card adventure through all of it? And so Josh is joining us again today. I appreciate you coming back, Josh. Thank you so much.
Thanks. This topic is going to be good. Let's go.
Let us go then, shall we? So it has been no secret that we have been in a bull market now for probably the last 12 months or so. What does the data show? Because you are a data guy, you probably know exactly what the definition of a bull market is. I mean, how many months are we running now in this bull market for the hobby?
Let me pull up. I usually look at the CL50 index from Card Ladder, and it kind of shows a general trend line. We're probably at like a year, dude, because we're pretty flat. We're pretty flat from January of 2024 to January of 2025, and it's just been like a rocket ship since then. So I would say about a year. Okay.
And this last year, I personally have seen just steady increase in the price of the guys that I collect. It's been very interesting. It's been challenging at times. It's been, to be honest with you, there's been points where I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Can I continue doing this? And then there's been other times where I'm like, I've been able to sell at a very high price and, cash in, so to speak, and use those funds for other cards. So it's been interesting, but I don't know, man. I don't know how much longer it's going to go on. I personally believe that a lot of cards are going to come back down, but I also think that there are some other key cards, maybe more rare cards, that maybe this is the new normal. And what's your feeling in general about where we're at in the hobby with this whole thing?
Yeah, it's been a crazy year, especially like from my perspective as the data guy and running Card Ladder. I see a lot of different categories, not just the stuff that I'm interested in. So I kind of have to know a bit about everything. The stuff that's the craziest to me is like the Pokemon and like the One Piece and the TCG, which I don't know much about, but dude, those are like way more bullish and way more up than the sports stuff. And the thing that makes me hesitant about those is that the population of those cards is much, much higher than what you and I are used to with sports. They don't have like
there's no numbered cards.
Yeah, exactly. They have some of them with like trophy cards and like kind of oddball promos and stuff, but they're not serial numbered, so it's more like the population and the grading aspect of that.
Do you know if there is any ultra modern Pokemon that is there? They just made like this one card that is actually super rare.
It's just the trophies, which you get as like the winner of the game tournaments. Because they are games, they're TCGs. Like they're really, the cards are centered around the actual game,
right?
So there are some trophy cards, but those aren't like really obtainable for most people because it's like if the person that wins the tournament just keeps them, for example, you can't get it.
That's how you get that card. So they're like ultra rare. So they don't mess around. When it's rare, it's like a 101 or
right.
is it a 101?
I think they may have like gold, silver, bronze.
Gotcha.
That's how they used to do it. So
Gotcha.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how that works.
Well, my son is into Pokemon. So fun fact, my son is older. I'm older. I had him at a young age. I know I look like I am still 25. Thank you. But I am in my early 40s and my son is now 21 years old, for crying out loud. My son actually got me to start my Kobe Bryant collection in 2013. It was the player that he wanted to start collecting. So we collected Kobe together for a couple of years. And then I got out of the hobby again in 2015 for personal reasons, which I shared on a previous episode. But then when I came back in 2018, started, getting my son back into it a little bit. And in 2020, he really, not through me, but somehow caught the Zion and Ja Morant wave, and he really went hard on Ja Morant on his own, by his own. That was his own card adventure that he went on. And then where I'm going with this is he totally stopped collecting basketball altogether and went into Pokemon because he did have Pokemon cards when he was a kid. And so he went back to Pokemon, and he still has he has a Pokemon collection. He doesn't really do basketball anymore, but he's got a Pokemon collection. My son is the Pokemon guy in our family, and when we go to shows together, I go to the sports card tables, he goes to the Pokemon tables. So it's funny, but I don't know anything about it.
Dude, I actually, if you can believe it, I started with Pokemon. I came into the hobby through Pokemon in 2015, 2016 because I was playing. So I'm 37. So Pokemon was like peak in 98, 99. So I was 10 and 11. So that was just like prime Pokemon years for me.
Wow.
So I was pretty big into like the base set first edition stuff. And when I first came in, I was like, this is cool. I'm getting finishing out my old sets and whatever. It just was too easy. Like I got bored very quickly. Yeah. I was able to, it was like, if you don't have the PSA 10, like there's not much of a chase. It was like a grade chase versus, it was almost like collecting vintage sports. It's like you're chasing the PSA 10. And then I moved into basketball because it's like, oh, these like gold refractors are actually hard to get. It's more interesting to me.
Speaking of moving into basketball, you are a big LeBron James collector, which everybody who knows you knows. And I noticed on your page the other day when I was pulling some cards to talk about, just going on a little bit of a bunny trail here, but I figure, hey, that's what we do here at the Card Adventure podcast. I'm really curious when I saw this card right here, the 97 Metal Universe Championship PMG of Penny Hardaway. How did you get? Did you have a thing with Penny when you were a kid, or where did Penny come from? Because as I found that card, I found a bunch more Penny cards, older posts on your page. So tell me about your Penny card adventure.
So I actually don't own this one anymore, unfortunately. But I was a huge Penny Hardaway fan as a kid. I think I saw you talk about this recently, where like people collected Penny and Grant Hill a lot of times more than MJ back in the 90s. Those guys were so popular relative to MJ.
I said Shaq, and other people chimed in with Penny and Grant Hill, but it's true. Shaq, Penny, Grant Hill.
Totally. And it was almost like people were rooting for some of these other guys to beat MJ, and it just like never happened, obviously.
Yep.
So Penny was my guy. Penny was always my guy when I was a kid.
That's awesome. My best friend was a Penny guy, and Penny, I mean, that whole era of basketball and Shaq and Penny is just freaking so classic. So many awesome memories. And it's funny too that back in that time, Jordan was the best player, right? And he was like on a crazy three-peat run and then another three-peat run. But isn't it interesting, and I'm bunny trailing a little bit here, but isn't it interesting how back at that time, there wasn't a hyper focus, not just on Jordan, but there wasn't a hyper focus on this guy. Everybody just kind of collected who they wanted to. I don't feel like there was this pressure to do anything other than that.
Yeah, today it's like you have to collect MJ, Mickey Mantle, Brady, LeBron. Totally agree. When I was a kid, it was like some of my friends had Kobe, some had Penny, some had Grant Hill, a few had MJ. I obviously a lot of kids wanted MJ. He was very popular, but it wasn't like if you didn't have MJ, you didn't have a collection kind of thing. Whereas it kind of feels like it's more like that today.
It does. And as we close that little bunny trail, I actually had an insane Charles Barkley collection. I talk about it a little bit on a couple of previous episodes, but I went from Shaq in the early 90s to mid 90s, and in the mid 90s I switched from Shaq to Charles Barkley and collected Charles Barkley from the mid 90s to the early 2000s. But that was just the guy that I fell in love with and that intrigued me, and it was a different time back then, but that's not where we are anymore. It is 2026. It's a different day and age. It's a different time in collecting, and we are again in this bull market where collecting can be a little bit difficult. So I know that even though we all have our own card budgets, we all have our own financial situations, it can be difficult for collectors, including myself, to pick up pieces at these prices. How are you dealing with that? Because I assume you don't have infinite amount of funds to just do whatever you want. But even if you did, you're probably running into your own roadblocks. Like, how are you picking up pieces in this bull market at these prices?
Yeah, I mean, the bull market kind of forced me to switch off of collecting LeBron and switching over to football, just because what I ended up doing was I sold one LeBron card that was numbered to 75, and I've turned that into like 50 one-of-one football cards.
Wow.
So I just was like, I need to keep collecting. I really enjoy this. I want to keep buying stuff that's fun. Let me just like sell one LeBron, and that'll like kind of fund basically my hobby for the next year. That's how I saw it.
What LeBron was that?
I sold the 03 limited logos. It's at a 75.
Okay.
Those cards are very popular. They're the ones with like the huge patch, and it's just like a square photo of his face.
Yep. So
they're cool cards, but like 75, it's like I can get one of those later if I need. I'd rather just like hunt down these ultra rare one-of-one football cards.
So again, did the opposite of quantity versus quality, decided that you wanted some quantity in your PC and that you would rather have these 50 cards than the one card. And that's cool. And you, the listener, you might decide to do that too. It's not always just about consolidating a bunch of cards into one card. Sometimes you might go, you know what? I've enjoyed this one card for a while, but I've got an itch to go pick up some more stuff. And I would rather have this one card leave my collection and go grab a bunch of other stuff with the funds than have to come up with the cash. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but everybody has their own time and their own season for that. And so, Josh, one of the ways that you got or are getting through this bull market, you said, was you took the one LeBron and using those funds on some football cards. And I'm assuming you're enjoying that, having fun.
Yeah, because during the bull market, the things that go up the most are like the popular players, the Michael Jordans, the LeBrons. So those appreciate in value. Kobe, they appreciate in value at a higher rate than some other cards that I maybe appreciate more. So I'm more willing to sell those types of players during the bull market. And then like if things were to crash and burn and everything goes down and loses a ton of value, then I would go back to like the more expensive player and the more expensive cards and kind of go back to that. But for now, in order to keep my hobby experience going and improving, I'm pivoting out into football. Or like for other people, you may look into different brands, maybe like not doing Prism and trying to find a less expensive brand or something that visually still is fun for you to collect, but like not as expensive. So there's a bunch of ways to move through, the financial constraints of a bull market.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. I have had a very challenging time with Kobe. I have had times where I'm just like literally hitting a wall because I want to pick up certain cards. And for me, I have to go on how I feel. Sometimes it's based on what do I have in my card budget versus how bad I want this card. And I will pick up stuff sometimes, even though I think I'm paying top of the market, right? I will knowingly, confessingly pick up certain cards knowing that I'm paying peak top of the market prices because I want that card right now and I have it in the card budget. And yeah, I think the card might come around again later, but I want it now. And so I, knowingly do that to myself sometimes, but that's okay with it. It's a personal choice. And then there's other times, right? Like I have been trying to get back, perfect example, when I got rid of those 23 cards for the one Kobe card, I had 2 atomic refractors of Kobe Bryant, 96 Bowman's Best atomic refractor base card, and the Best Picks atomic refractor that I got rid of in that process to fund the gold 06 refractor. And I knew when I let those go, I knew that I was going to get them back, but in the regular refractors, not the atomic refractors, for whatever reason, I've decided I like the regular one better. But going back to get those cards right now at these current prices and seeing how they have beyond doubled in 6 months, and there's plenty of those. And it's like, I've been so hesitant. Let me just find one with the right color. Let me try to find one without a print line or whatever. But I've really hit a wall with some cards. And so I'm trying to be patient, but my Kobe collecting has been tough through the bull market. And I don't know what I'm going to do this year. I guess just be patient.
Dude, I'm in the same exact boat with LeBron. I haven't bought a LeBron card in like a year. Because now that I've got a taste of like the 101s from football, it's like, I'd love to get a 101 LeBron. It's like, yeah, sure. I'll just go spend $100,000 on a one. It's just like, it's not even realistic,
Yeah. And that's one of the great things about diversifying your PC. And for the average person that, has somewhat of a card budget, you can pivot. I love to pivot on my card adventure. I have different seasons where I'm a little harder after this kind of card or this player, and then other seasons where I'm a little harder on this kind of card and this kind of player. It's nice to be able to pivot. It keeps it fresh for me. I do not like a stagnant PC. I'm not one of those guys where like everything can just stay the same for a long amount of time. I need a little bit of movement, and being able to pivot between players, sports, parallels has really done that for me.
Yeah, I like when you talked about sort of like the emotional decisions you make around cards, because it's at the end of the day, like, this is a hobby. It's not a stock market, right? Like, we got into this because it's supposed to be fun, and we make emotional decisions, and that's kind of part of it. So I always like making big pivots and jumping into something new and like taking risks and going with your gut and making emotional decisions.
Yeah, and speaking of emotional decisions, I am the guy that will knowingly and willingly buy a card at a peak moment if there's emotion attached to it. For example, whenever Kobe officially got inducted into the Hall of Fame, I knew I was going to be paying peak prices on a bunch of, regular cards, and I just did it because I wanted to buy them on that day, and I knew I willingly did it. And there's been other times that I've done that. To me, the emotion, the memory, the connection is always more important than the price, and I will overpay when I feel a connection. You know what I mean?
Totally agreed.
I want to ask you this question here, and then we're going to jump into some cards. When do you decide, Mr. Card Ladder Data, and maybe it's a mix of data, maybe it's feeling, I don't know. But when do you decide on a player, parallel, or whatever in this bull market to finally just say, no, nope, I love them, I want it, I might even be able to technically pull it off financially, but no. When do you pull out the no?
A lot of it's like, how much have I spent on other cards recently? Like, I did buy like a ton of football cards in the last few months, and it's like, okay, I need a break for a month just to recoup the bank account and like let a couple paychecks come in without putting it all towards cards. So it's like a feel kind of thing where I'm not going too hard. So there's a lot of that. But then, like, like I was talking about earlier with the Pokemon stuff, like if it's like 10xing in a few months, then it's like, all right, this is too much. Like, it's not going to hold like this forever. I should pause. A lot of the LeBron stuff that I have is like 2 to 3x in the last year. It's too much. I don't want to continuously. I'm used to buying at this price. Like, I feel uncomfortable buying at 3x just because it's like the hype thing to do. So it's a lot of like going away from the trends and away from the hype and trying to like do my own thing.
I totally feel that, and I kind of process it the same way. Sometimes I pull some data from Card Ladder and try to make decisions that way to say, like, okay, like, say if this has tripled in the last year and there's 100 copies, right? I'm probably going to wait. But then again, I can also make emotional decisions sometimes and say, you know what? Screw it. I want this copy. I want it now, whatever. So I totally get that. But for me, I personally, I will say no when I don't feel right about it. Even if I have the money, regardless of what the data says, if I sometimes just be like, I don't feel right about it. And that's why I'm not a sports card investor, because I make emotional decisions, and a lot of times it's just how I feel at the time or that day. So what do I know? Let's jump into some cards. How about that? Boom, baby. Starting off with an insane card right here. 2003 finest gold refractor of LeBron James. I freaking think this card is amazing. It's obviously a rookie card. Josh, do you still have this card? How do you feel about this card? It's nice.
Yes, I bought this in the peak of 2021, but I was chasing this card for so long. I saw it in 2019 at National. I was like, I have to have this card. It's at a 25. It's finest. The design is insane. It's incredibly shiny, and it's always been like my favorite gold refractor LeBron card. It took me a long time to get it, and I ended up like I did consolidate into this one. I sold quite a few things to be able to jump into this at the peak. So luckily, like, I did sell some stuff at the peak and moved into this one, so it was kind of a wash. But still have this one. I don't plan on selling this one.
The design is insane. The graphic design, the photo, the gold, there's so much gold on this card. I feel like a lot of different years we've been cheaped out of the gold on the golds. It's like a little bit of gold on a card. This is flooded with gold. All the color matching going on here with the golds and the reds and the Cavs colors. This card is freaking insane. I have a question for you about the 03 Finest, and that is, if you forget value, forget the numbering, versus the Topps Chrome 03 Gold Rookie Refractor, which one would you rather have, Josh Johnson?
Oh, this one like destroys Topps Chrome. Destroys it.
I agree. It destroys is the perfect word, man. It destroys it.
Because 03 is like a thin gold border and it's like brown and it's not shiny. It's not even close. Like that Topps Chrome 03 is obviously like just riding off of the brand name and the nostalgia. This is just like pure aesthetics.
Yes, it is. Yes, and yes. Couldn't agree more. So question for you, because I don't know. I would assume that this one goes for more money, but you can never assume. Does the Chrome actually go for more because it's Chrome, or which one?
I think they'd actually be kind of similar because the Chromes are at a 50 and the Finest are at a 25. So that kind of like evens it out a bit. But
crazy.
Probably like, I think the Chrome Gold PSA 10 is like at auction right now. It's like coming up on $1 million. And I don't know if the PSA 10 of this would do $1 million. I'm not sure. But in my experience, they're pretty similar price, honestly.
Holy smokes. Well, I'm definitely taking the 03 Finest, and I think the 03 Finest design is one of the greatest designs ever made. I mean, it's just a classic set. This next card I want to show is also one of the greatest sets in my opinion, and one of the most beautiful cards. This thing is insane, and that is the 04 Pristine Refractor LeBron James. Holy smokes, Josh, do you still have this one?
I do not. These are at a 25, I think.
Okay. I am freaking in love with the 04 Pristine. I think Pristine is probably the greatest set ever, non-auto, non-patch, just as far as aesthetic refractors and stuff like that. So you no longer have this one, but how do you feel about the card in general?
This one was always one of my favorite visually. It kind of looks like the Color Blast from Panini today, you know, like the primarily white background and the contrast with the colors makes it stand out a lot. And then it's got like the chromium surface, so kind of hits on all the best stuff.
It really does. It's a beautiful card. Is that one that you could see yourself getting back into the collection one day, or?
Totally. There's also a like gold
to 27
die cut version of this one. Yeah, you've seen that one. This one's more rare than that one, which is because it's just ironic.
I didn't remember
this one's
the gold being die cut. Does it got the
it's
deckled edges?
It's like perforated edges. Yeah,
that's what. See, I say perforated edges. I've always said that. And then Teapot hit me up the other day, and he's like, "Hey, man, they're actually called deckled edges." And I'm like, oh man, I didn't realize that. I always called them perforated edges, but that I didn't realize the gold had that. The gold's 27 with the deckled or perforated edges, and then the silver, which they just called it a refractor, not a silver, is numbered to 25. Both cards are super cool. And if you had to pick one of those two, which one would you have?
This one.
Okay. Super cool card. Well, I hope you're able to get it back one day if you desire to have it back. And moving on to this next card is we're actually going down the patch auto lane, and that is the 04 Exquisite Emblems of Endorsements. And this is a beautiful card, beautiful bold auto. This one's numbered to 10. It looks like it's the first copy of the 10. Beautiful patch. Josh, do you still have the card, and how do you feel about it?
Dude, you picked my favorite LeBron shiny card and my favorite patch auto. This card's insane.
So the listeners don't know that these were randomly selected by me, and you didn't know what cards we were talking about. So
yeah, you definitely have a very similar aesthetic taste that I do. Obviously, we've now figured this out. This is my favorite patch auto card that I have. I still own this one. Yes, this one and the Finest Gold would be the last two that I would get out of my football, basketball, anything. Those are like my two favorite cards.
Love it. I the cool thing about the emblems of endorsement is I think there's enough of the player photo there to where, it's not just a small,
Yeah.
headshot or whatever. I like the patch. I like the hollow foil. I mean, just an absolutely gorgeous card. And I got to say this too about LeBron. LeBron has a beautiful autograph. And does he still do the 23 in his autograph, or was that just for a period of time? Or
I think he does. His current modern one is quite a bit different than this, but I think he still does the 23 thing, which obviously is cool. He's got it's like the L and the E, B, I guess, but it makes it look like 23.
Beautiful autograph. It's funny how autographs change over a player's career, but I know mine has too. The way that I signed, 10 years ago isn't the way I signed today because, everybody's lining up for my autograph these days,
When you're signing those checks.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my gosh, I think I get less. It's impatience is what it is. Like, there you go,
Totally. Yeah, scribble.
That's funny, but this is a beautiful card, man. And so here's a question for you as we kind of go down the home stretch. Okay, I know you said that the 03 finest gold and this emblems of endorsement would be two of the last cards that would leave your collection. All right, now you're in a position, Josh, where you have to choose one. You can only keep one. Are you keeping the 04 exquisite emblems of endorsement, or are you keeping the 03 finest gold refractor?
I'll keep the gold refractor because at my core, I'm a shiny guy over an autograph guy, and this one's a rookie, so I would keep this one.
I love it, and I think that's a good choice. I would have to do the same, although you couldn't really go wrong with either card. I'm also more of a refractor guy. I have some autos and some patch autos for Mike Evans. I can't afford them for Kobe. I have one Kobe autograph. There's another very particular autograph card of his that I'm looking for to add to the PC from 2013 Select, which is my favorite Panini era product. And then I have one patch, which is also a 2013 Select. I have one autograph, one patch, no patch autos on the same card. But with Mike Evans, I can afford to do that.
Exactly.
Josh, I've had an awesome time with you. Before we get out of here, is there anything on your mind that you'd like to share with the listeners? Any encouragement, any advice, anything that you'd like to say before we wrap up Card Adventures Part 2 with Josh at Cardboard Chronicles, rather?
Yes. So on the topic of the bull market, it's very tempting to just like jump in, ride the cards up in value, and like buy whatever is the hot new thing. I would say take your time with something like that. Make sure you're actually gonna stick with it long term. Try to maybe find something that's more passionate for you individually rather than jumping into the hype. We're seeing 5-10x jumps on a lot of different categories of cards. Pokemon, like the Panini inserts, kabooms, and downtowns. I would just say like be careful with some of that stuff. A lot of those are like high print numbers, high population numbers. So I usually tell people like, buy what you like instead and try to find like your own passion and lanes within the space. So that advice has always done well over the years.
Josh, that's great advice. I couldn't agree more. And one thing that you said, like, if you're not going to hold it for a long time, right? Because if you hold the card for a long time, if it's a key player, if it's a key, parallel, even if it is a little bit overprinted, as long as you're holding it for a long time, you're less likely to get hurt. And again, this isn't investment advice. We're just telling you, the listener, the collector, how you can have a better card adventure long term. Any kind of advice that you get from a guy like Josh or myself is always just going to be things that we've learned, things that we want to share, because I know one thing is that I want to see people stay in the hobby long term. And when you're disciplined, when you take good advice from seasoned OGs in this space who don't have any financial interest to gain off of you, they actually care about you being in the hobby, you're going to have a better card adventure. What do you think about that, Josh? Let's close this thing out, buddy. Any last statements you want to make, or are you good?
Nope, that's a perfect ending. You nailed it.
All right, well, I won't keep it going then. I really appreciate you joining. It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for your time, and God bless you and your family, and I hope you continue that Black Finite card adventure and maybe can add a LeBron this year.
Likewise, Curtis. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. All right, y'all. That was part 2 of part 1 and 2. If you missed part 1, you can always go back and listen or watch. I have certainly been encouraged. I hope that you have been encouraged, because that's what we're here to do. Encourage other collectors on their own card adventures. You know what? If you have enjoyed it, you can be here with us every Tuesday and every Thursday, everywhere that you listen to podcasts or watch on YouTube. Follow on Instagram at the Card Adventures Podcast, because we're going to keep this thing going, baby. And it doesn't matter if it's a bull market. It doesn't matter if prices are high. We are going to make our own choices on when to make emotional purchases or just say no. You can keep the train rolling for your personal collection. I want to encourage you, build a PC you can be proud of. See ya.